Now, after today, maybe next week's lesson, I'm going to have to change something. This was supposed to be a study of the Kings, and it's turned into historical lessons and me trying to keep everything in chronological order. And the reason for that is there's just too much good stuff in between the Kings. You just can't pass it up. So after we get a few things lined out here, we are going to be studying just about the Kings. And it will take a lot less time that way. And we'll hopefully get through it by the end of the year. Yeah, maybe. Anyway, 2 Kings chapter 2, and we got down through verse 15 last week. And I went back over my lesson, as I always do, and I didn't find any glaring mistakes. So I'm not going to change anything. So that's something that's unusual. Anyway, we're going to start with verse 15, which is the verse we ended up on. You remember Elijah had been called up into heaven in a whirlwind, and Elisha has crossed back over the river Jordan, and the people are there waiting to see him and to see what all is going on in verse 15. And when the sons of the prophets, which were to view at Jericho, saw him, they said, "The spirit of Elijah doth rest on Elisha." And they came to meet him and bowed themselves to the ground before him. So they understood now that Elisha was going to be the prophet. Elijah was gone. He had been taken up into heaven. Now, I don't know how much they saw. Probably not a whole lot, because there was a distance there between them. They were on the other side of the river. So I don't exactly know how much they saw, but they knew already, because they told Elisha that, Elijah was going to be taken from him. And so they knew already that he was going to be taken. And anyway, they bowed themselves to the ground. They I think out of respect. I don't think this was a worship type thing, because I believe Elisha would have told them to get up on their feet. But I think this was a sign of respect, a show of respect for the Lord's man. And we're going to get into more of that about the Lord's man and how he is to be shown respect and not mocked. But anyway, that's coming up later. Anyway, in verse 16, and they said unto him, "Behold now, there be with thy servants 50 strong men. Let them go, we pray thee, and seek thy master, lest peradventure the Spirit of the Lord has taken him up and cast him upon some mountain or into some valley." So they weren't convinced that he was gone. Maybe the Lord picked him up and just carried him away to a mountain. Or maybe he just dropped him off in a valley somewhere. We got 50 men here. Let them go out and search for him. And maybe we can get him back. So what did Elisha say? And he said, "He shall not sin." In other words, no, I saw him go up. I saw him go up in a whirlwind. He went up into heaven. He doesn't want to come back. I can imagine. Well, no, I can't. I really can't imagine being in the presence of God. That's one of these days we will. But not now. Anyway, he's up in heaven. He's not going to come back until the appointed time. Now, I do believe Elijah is one of the prophets talked about in Revelation. We're not going to get into that. I don't believe Moses is the other one. And I don't know if that offends anybody or not. I don't care. I just don't think he is, because the Bible says that it's appointed that a man wants to die. We know the prophets are killed in Revelation. Moses had already died once. So I don't think Moses is going to be the other prophet. And I'll leave it at that. Anyway, ye shall not sin. Don't bother. Don't bother looking. You're not going to find him. So in verse 17, when they urged him till he was ashamed. Now I don't know how you shame somebody. He knew he was right. He knew that they weren't going to find him. But I think, he was ashamed maybe of them. I don't know. That's a possibility I hadn't really thought of until right now. They urged him till he was ashamed. Maybe he didn't want to hurt their feelings. There's a lot of people that do things like that. They'll let people go along knowing that they're going to run into a wall and say, well, I didn't want to hurt their feelings. But he said, don't sin, and then they keep going on and going on. And so he sent, therefore, he said, sin. Okay, go ahead, do it. Now, I imagine he was probably pretty disgusted by then. These were the same people that had told him. Now, they weren't the only ones, but these were the same people that told him that Elijah was going to be taken away. And here they were saying, well, let's go see if we can find him. So he said, okay, sin. They sent therefore 50 men. These are the strong men, the mighty men, because they didn't know how long they was going to be looking. Might be a day, might be a couple days. And they sought 3 days, but found him not. Not a big surprise there. I mean, they don't have any way to get into a whirlwind and go up to where Elijah went to. They're not going to find him. And Elisha knew that and told them, don't bother. You're not going to find him. And they kept saying, oh, come on. Like a little kid sometimes, And he said, okay, go ahead. And they couldn't find him. In verse 18, when they came again to him, for he tarried at Jericho, he said unto them, did I not say unto you, go not? Now, sometimes it's good to say, I told you so. Not often, but sometimes it is. And I think he was showing his authority here. So I told you not to go. You wanted to go anyway. So I finally relented. I let you go. And you were out in the wilderness for 3 days. I don't know if they had food and water or anything like that with them, but I'm pretty sure they were tired after 3 days of looking all over the creation for somebody they had to know in their heart they weren't going to find. Anyway, he said, did I not say unto you, go not? So he set them straight there. Anyway, verse 19, and the men of the city said unto Elisha, behold, I pray thee, the situation of this city is pleasant, as my Lord seeth, but the water is not, and the ground barren. So they got over being corrected pretty quickly, and they said, well, look at the city here, Jericho. It's a really nice place. It's in a good location, everything like that. The only thing is the water's poison. So the water is not, and the ground is barren. So they didn't have a way to raise crops or cattle or anything like that. Brother Gill goes into a lot more detail, and I'm not sure where he gets his details from, but they go into things about women losing their babies and stuff like that, and I don't find that anywhere, so I'll leave that up to you. You can take it for what it's worth. And anyway, it's a really nice city. that they can't live in. So anyway, I think the Lord did this purposely, set this up again to show Elisha is going to be the prophet. He is the prophet. He's not going to be. He is the prophet. He is to take Elijah's place, and he's going to show him here. In verse 20, and he said, bring me a new cruse and put salt therein. Now, a cruse is kind of like a pitcher. Most generally, it's taller than it is round. It's not a squat thing. Anyway, it's kind of tall. And it doesn't really say how big it is. But he says, bring me a new cruse and put salt therein. So he come right up with tell them what to do, no problem. And they brought it to them. So they did what they're supposed to do. Now, a lot of times we'll read something in the Bible and it's pretty plain instructions, thou shalt not. Or what you should do or what you shouldn't do, and it's pretty plain, and yet we kind of hem-haw around and don't follow the instructions. God gave us all the instructions we need, but we don't pay attention. These people here, they did what they was told. They brought it to him. Now, I don't know what they figured he was going to do with it. He's got a cruse full of salt now. Verse 21, and he went forth unto the spring of the waters, and cast the salt in there. Now, I don't know if you know anything about cleaning up water, but the one thing you don't do is put salt in it. It just makes it brackish and it's useless. Well, of course, this water was already useless. But anyways, he took something that would make it even worse than it was and put it in there.